Hello and welcome to another episode of the Box Score Network NFL Preview Show. We are here to preview Week 6. I'm Simon Short, joined by Parker, joined by Ben, and we are here to give you the game of the week for the Box Score Network Preview Show. We're here to give you our picks and give you an update on our pick standings and how we're doing. And we're here to give you a couple of our favorite bets. So before we start, just a quick plug. Make sure you guys are following, subscribed, and liking this video here on YouTube. We also have our first edition of the Box Score Network MLB preview show, where the crew from Tricky Takes, including Austin Free, who's normally on this episode on the NFL show, they are previewing the ALCS and NLCS MLB playoffs. You can see the NLCS preview already up on the channel, and the ALCS one will be up Sunday or Monday as well. So make sure you're checking those out. All right, guys. Enough of the plugs, enough of the get down. Let's go ahead and do the game of the week. We have Ravens at the Commanders. Uh, I believe. Did I already mess that up? We have Commanders at the Ravens. And the Ravens are favored by 7 points. That line has been growing throughout the week. Parker, give it to us first. What are some of the things you're looking for in this game?
So the number one thing that I think this Commanders team has yet to go up against is, and there's a reason for it, is this a run game like the Baltimore Ravens have. But that's just because no one in the NFL has a run game like the Baltimore Ravens. Like it is far and away the best rushing offense, the best recipe. Like everything just makes sense when they run the football, and they could probably win 13 games this year if they just run the football. It's nuts. And I think that the Commanders are great on offense. That Jaden Daniels is slinging the ball, everything's coming together, but their defense isn't going to be able to stop this run game. And the Ravens are going to chew the clock. I do think it's going to be low scoring for that because of that. I think the Ravens will eat away a lot of the clock this game, just run the football and be steady. So I like the Ravens big here.
Ben, what are you looking at in this one?
So I like the Ravens big here as well, and I don't mean to doubt the Commanders or Jaden Daniels, who has been phenomenal. I mean, I love all of that, but you're going to have ups and downs as a rookie. Here, the Commanders are on the road against a really good football team that is starting to get a feel for not only what they can do, but what they want to do. So I really like that. Ravens secondary has been a little bit banged up. I don't know exactly how healthy they will be tomorrow, but I still like that Ravens secondary against a rookie quarterback. They're going to be sitting and watching and maybe even baiting a little bit, especially a guy like Kyle Hamilton sitting back there. So I like this Ravens team here to beat the Commanders quite handily. You may see a late comeback here from the Commanders, but I do like the Ravens to kind of build a large lead at least through three quarters.
Yeah, I've got stuff same as both of your guys' points. So the Commanders have been awesome. There's nothing to be said for that. And picking the Ravens should not be a slight. The Ravens are playing like the best team in the NFL right now. The Commanders are first in EPA on offense per play through the air, on the ground, and in total. But the Ravens are second in all those categories. They're right there with them offensively. Defensively, Washington is just 25th in EPA per play, 28th through the air, 14th on the ground. Baltimore 21st, 26th, and 5th in those categories, respectively. We know the Ravens are struggling this year so far with their pass defense, and they'll continue to do that in this game because, to Ben's point, Marlon Humphrey potentially is going to be a no-go. He is questionable. He was limited Thursday and Friday at practice with an injury. But the Commanders have never faced a run defense like this, just like Parker said. It's the best run team, or the best run team Washington has faced was Arizona, who's ranked ninth in EPA per rush. Meanwhile, the Ravens have faced the Chiefs, who are fourth, as well as the Bills, who are ninth still, even after a couple of tough weeks. So the Bills were running really well when the Ravens saw them, and they shut them down. And in addition to that, the Commanders are going to be without Brian Robertson Jr., their best between the tackles runner. So there's a lot working against Commanders here, and then you just have the experience of the Ravens on top of it. The fact that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are both playing out of their minds. And to Ben's point, Kyle Hamilton, I think, is someone that can wreck this game a little bit defensively. So I've got the Ravens as well. I don't know if it's going to be this. I don't know if they're going to cover this 7 point spread, but I think we're gonna. I actually think it's going to be a high scoring game, so that'll be fun to track between me and Parker. But I do get the point of the quick game. I think this is going to go pretty quick because both teams like to operate that way. But I think it's going to be a really fun, pretty electric matchup. It'll be cool to see the Commanders go against a big boy. I mean, listen, the Bengals are a good team, offensively speaking. Same with the Cardinals. So those were fun games. But this is the Ravens. This is a Super Bowl contender, and the Commanders haven't been up against that yet. So it'll be fun for sure. anything else on this game before we get into our picks for the week, guys?
Yeah, I do expect Daniels to pass for yardage in this game. I just worry about the
Yep.
point totals here for the Commanders side and maybe even a pick or two for the first time. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also see the Commanders defense being like, I see them being on the field a lot in this football game. Like if Jaden Daniels has to punt once or twice, like especially early in the game, like dude, their defense might be gassed by halftime. If they're gonna run the ball as much as I think so.
And that's a situation their defense hasn't been in, right? Because the offense
Not
has
yet.
been
It's just
taking care of the
shootout.
ball. It's been
Mhm.
what, 3 or 4 punts all season long, whatever it is. So this defense hasn't been in that situation, and Derrick Henry is going to wear them down. So this will be a good test. It'll be a nice little measuring stick for the Commanders, but I think we're
Mhm.
all in the same boat here. It is not a 4 horsemen, however, which leads us into our pick analysis of the week because Austin put his picks in. He's not with us tonight. But he put his picks in. He's going with the Commanders in this one. So it is not a 4 horsemen, which we are 22 of 35 on the year for almost 63%.
Oh,
We
yeah.
were 3-2 in that last week. So we're hanging right around there for a couple weeks here. Austin being the Lone Ranger, he's got his bit. If you haven't figured it out yet, we won't say it out loud, but he's only 36% when he's by himself. So indications by our stats are this is going to be a good win for the Ravens. Let's take a look at some of the other things. Lone Rangers overall in the year, 48% wins, 12 wins, 13 losses on that. The best victor at that is one Ben Parker. He is 3-4 when he goes solo on his own. So we'll see if he has any of those picks tonight. The best pairing that we have is still Austin and Ben. 4-1 when Austin and Ben pick the same score, which means on the other end of that, me and Parker are not so good when we're together. 1-4 on that one. Ben and Parker is the second best pairing, 75%, 3-1. Ben, you just can't beat Ben Parker. You just can't. You just can't do it unless you're in the first 20 minutes of a Spider-Man movie.
I got a quick story here. I got to insert it here. So I'm doing pretty good on our picks this year, right? In 2022, I was doing about the same. I had a good year. Last year on me and Robertson's podcast, by week 9, we were doing so horrible. We quit even keeping track. I mean, one year to the next, you just never know how these picks are going to go, man. I mean, last year was awful. The year before was good.
What I'm actually hearing, Ben, is nobody has any record of that, so you're always really good, is what you
That's
should be saying.
true.
All right, let's get into our picks here. We're gonna start with the London game. Jaguars, quote unquote, at the Bears. What do you have here for us, Ben? Let's go to you as the victor right now. Ben on the season overall is 43-25. Parker is 38-30, as well as Austin, and I am a measly 35-33.
Last week hurt me bad. I fumbled last week, I think.
Yeah, I think we actually all had a rough go last week. We'll get to the bets, but the bets were also rough. Let's see. Parker was 5-7 last week. I was 6-6. Ben and Austin were both 8-4. So a lot of those Ben and Austin combos did well last week.
I like the
But
Bears
anyways,
in this game. Yeah, sorry. I like the Bears. And just the defense alone gives me the reason to think the Bears win here. When you look at Caleb Williams, he might have a good game against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense that is by and large one of the worst in the league right now. But I'm not sure the Bears even need that from Caleb Williams. If he just has a decent day, the Bears defense may carry the day here in London.
Parker.
I'm on the opposite side. This is a Jacksonville Jaguars home game. Number one, the Jags play in London all the time. Yeah, I have to be convinced that some of those fans have caught on to that. I think they play every year, correct? They play in London every year. The
I think
Jags do?
I believe
Yeah,
so, ever since they
every
started
year.
doing it.
Mhm. Yeah, so I see this as a Jags home game, number one. Number two, like the Jags didn't look bad last week. And honestly, they didn't look terrible against the Texans the week before. Like they could have squeaked out a win. And I got faith that they're going to beat the Bears. I mean, I don't know what I love about the Bears more than I love about the Jaguars as far as offense goes. Defense, of course, I take the Bears, but offensively, I got to think the Jags are going to come out on top.
You guys know where I stand. Never go to England or go overseas with troubles already happening for you. The Jaguars are in a rough spot. Could this be? Is this where coaches go to get fired? We'll see about that. Doug Pearson, the Jaguars, after Robert Saleh gets fired last week after a loss in England. So I'm going with the Bears as well. Let's go Cardinals at Packers up next. For this game, I should have mentioned the Jaguars are 1 point favorite, getting that quote unquote bump. As it's interesting, right? The Bears are technically the home team, but Jacksonville plays in England more. They're kind of getting that 1 point in favor of themselves there. The Cardinals at the Packers. The Packers are currently 5.5 point favorites. Ben, what do you got?
So this is my official most funnest game of the week right here. This is a good matchup. I really like it. I think you're going to see a fair amount of points between two offenses that seem pretty willing to get after it. And the Cardinals defense is probably going to give up some points. Given the Packers to win this, Jordan Love continuing hopefully to improve and kind of get back into, midseason shape like everybody else is. So giving the Packers here in a win over the Cardinals, but a fun game to me.
Parker.
Against the grain, man. I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals. I took them last week. This will be my third time taking them this year as underdogs. The first 2 times they've done me well. They're almost like my darling. Last year, I really had a lot of faith in the Raiders. As far as their win total goes this year, I'm kind of big on the Cardinals. I mean, I don't see the defense really being that big of a problem if their offense is taking care of the ball. So I'm going to take Arizona here.
I love that you're doing this because it's what I want to do spiritually every week because I feel like I'm the resident hipster team picker of Box Score Network, but you're taking up that mantle, Parker, because I'm going with the Packers. I think this is going to be a shootout, and like Ben said, I think Jordan Love is kind of getting back and more comfortable every single week, and we might see that help the defense out, which is not being as aggressive as we thought it was going to be before the season. If Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur are more confident in the offense moving forward, they might be a little bit more risk taking on defense. So give me the Packers in this one. Next, we have Colts at the Titans. The Titans are currently 3 point favorites. Ben, what are you doing here?
This one was a tough one for me, especially because you have Joe Flacco going up against Will Levis here. That I lean Flacco, but ultimately Titans at home, Titans with a pretty good defense here. And I'm just gonna I really feel like the Titans pull this one out in a tight matchup here.
Parker.
Yeah, I think the only thing the Tennessee Titans would have to stop here is an Alec Pierce ball over the top, 65 yards plus. So with no Jonathan Taylor, it's really hard for me not to take the Titans. But Will Levis is on that side of the ball and could give them 3 free touchdowns. So that's what makes it tough for me. I'm going to put some faith in Will Levis that he doesn't do that, and I'm going to take Tennessee.
I'm also going with the Titans. It's still very unclear who the quarterback is going to be. I think everyone is planning for Anthony Richardson to go out there and go through warmups as QB1 and see how that oblique feels. But they're kind of being very specific, according to Ian Rappaport, about like if Richardson's not 100%, he's not going to play. And of course, I would feel a little bit better about picking the Colts if I knew it was going to be Joe Flacco at quarterback. But it feels like it is going to be Richardson. I should say that the Colts have been 3 times this season in the top 10 of offense by EPA per play, both Flacco games. So his one start and his one majority game against the Steelers. And that first game of the season when Anthony Richardson had like 6 explosive plays, right? That crazy 75-yard bomb. Another big touchdown to Ashton Doolin. But the other 2 weeks, they were a bottom 12 offense. So if it's Anthony Richardson going against this Titans defense, which is looking like it's top 10 right now, and it seems like it's leaning that way, that's going to be Anthony Richardson, give me the Titans as well to hold off this Colts team. Let's say Texans at Patriots. Houston, this will be Drake May's first career start, and the Texans are favored by 6.5 points. Ben, what do you got?
Rookie quarterback against the Texans defense, which hasn't been dominant, but I still like the Texans here. They've got the better team overall. It is in New England, so you give a little bit of a hedge to that there, but it's really hard for me to pick the Patriots to actually win this game with Drake May making his first start. I will come back to this later with a bet, but give me Texans here in a reasonably solid victory in New England.
Parker.
I think this is the time for the Texans to get like a pump up game here, get some confidence in the offense. Even though, and another thing, like Nico Collins being out, especially for this week, I think the other 2 receivers can hold their own and maybe, get Tank Dell back on his horse, get Stephon Diggs a few more looks, get Joe Mixon out there doing his thing, now that he's back, get him back in the game. So I think this is a really good time for them to play this team, which is why I'm going to take the Texans. And I'm with Ben. I think it'll be a solid win, 10 points or so.
Yeah, give me the Texans too. I know it's not as pretty as we all would have liked for the Texans, but I think that is where we feel about a lot of teams right now. The way this defense is playing against a rookie quarterback still should be able to handle it. Give me the Texans to win this one as well. All right, next up we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. The Tampa Bay Bucks are favored by 3.5. Ben, what do you got?
Giving the Buccaneers to win. They're still playing pretty well this year. I haven't kept up to date, in honesty, with the Saints' interior offensive line. So McCoy, Ruiz, if they're back in, that could make a big difference. But what won't make a big difference is you've got the rookie quarterback. It looks like Spencer Rattler starting. I'll come back to this game again later with the bet, but it's going to be really hard for me to pick Spencer Rattler to come in and win over the Buccaneers in the first week. So give me the Buccaneers in a fairly competitive game, but the Buccaneers pulling away by the end.
And I will just confirm Eric McCoy is out. I believe he's on IR even. And Cesar Ruiz has already also been ruled out. He's not on IR, but both guys are also going to be out. And left guard, Lucas Patrick is also questionable. I believe he was last week too, so he should be okay to play. But yeah, that offensive line is still beat up. Parker, what do you got here?
Yeah, Bucks by a lot, man. It's crazy. We're in week 5 and we're getting 2 more rookie quarterbacks coming out and starting this week, which it's always a good thing, seeing the young talent, but I don't see this one panning out for Spencer. And I don't see either of them getting a win this week. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay. New Orleans has too many holes at this point.
Yeah, backup rookie, 5th-round quarterback in against Todd Bowles, and like the Bucks offense is playing better than their defense even. I think we get lost in the Todd Bowles of it all, but this offense has been really good too. And the Saints are having all their issues, not only with the offensive line, but yeah, Derek Carr being out and the rookie being in, and Spencer Rattler. So give me the Bucks too. I should say these last 2 games, Texans, Patriots, Bucks, Saints, have both been clean sweeps in favor of the Texans and the Bucks. So we'll see how that factors into our stats going into next week. Up next, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly is going to have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Lane Johnson back in this one. They are favored by 8.5 points. It's up to 8.5. Ben, what do you got here?
Cleveland Browns fans, I feel for you. My heart is with you. But the Browns suck. The Eagles are at home. The Eagles have players coming back. The Eagles are coming off of a bye week. And the Eagles really, 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 really need to have a good game because they really, really haven't had one this year. In fact, they've had a couple of ugly ones. So Eagles across the board, Eagles big.
Parker.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while before the Browns are good again. And I feel for Browns fans. I mean, we have 2 in the Box Score Network, Connor and Billy, that are both big Browns fans. So I feel for those guys. But how do you not take the Eagles here? Like, it's a very easy pick. I think this could be the easiest pick of the week.
Another clean sweep. The only thing that's not a clean sweep is I don't feel bad for Browns fans. Suck it, Browns fans. Let's see. We're going to the afternoon slate here. Chargers at Broncos. The Chargers are favored by 3. We have a lot of away favorites right now. We have a lot of home dogs this week. Ben, what do you got in this one? Chargers at Broncos.
All right. So this is the old school, low score, field goal happy, gridiron matchup of the week, sponsored by Dapper Dan. All right. If you like old school crap, this is it, man. The 2 offenses are really, really, really struggling to pass the football, and both defenses are looking legit. I mean, they're getting after it, especially the Denver pass defense. So, man, I've got the Chargers here 16-13, but don't count on it. Won't put money on that. This game could go either way. Should be just a good tight matchup. If you love that kind of thing, this is the game to watch.
Parker. Yep, against the grain. Denver Broncos. I think that Bo Nix and Sean Payton get it done. I've had this conversation with Payton. I just don't think Justin Herbert is like a top 12 quarterback. Not saying Bo Nix is, but I think Bo Nix is playing better football at the moment. I do. I like the fire of Bo Nix. Yeah, shake your head, shake your head. I like
60 yards passing in one game, man.
In one game. Yeah, but what he did to Tampa Bay's defense is not something that you can just throw away. It's not terrible. It's not a terrible day.
We can't do this Bo Nix versus Justin Herbert right now. It's not this kind of show.
It's not the time. Okay, I'll take Denver this week, and I bet Bo Nix has 2 touchdowns. It'll be in my bet slip just for bet.
There you go. I like it.
Will those touchdowns go beyond 3 yards of the line of scrimmage?
It won't matter. 14 points is 14 points.
Get the
I can't. I've been broken. Chargers. That's all I could say. That's all I could say. Chargers. Let's see here. Steelers at Raiders. The Raiders are in real bad shape. Jacoby Myers just got downgraded to doubtful a couple hours before we hopped on this podcast. Devontae Adams is out. Max Crosby is banged up and questionable, but I'm sure he's going to play. Ben, what do you have in this one? Steelers at Raiders.
Priorities. So last I looked, Max Crosby's good to go for this game because he's on my fantasy team. That's why I know this. So, but again, he's not 100%. The Raiders are still too banged up, Simon. You mentioned it. That's the total key here. If they were all together healthy and playing aggressive and doing the old Pierce, bravado thing, I'd give them a chance here at home. But they're still too beat up, man. So Steelers are going to be coming in bloodthirsty after that, Sunday night loss. It's Steelers all the way here for me.
Should also say the Raiders are going to Aiden O'Connell as the quarterback. They're making a quarterback change this week as well. Parker, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, I don't like that call. Actually, I'm a Gardner Minshew fan, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this one. I think Pittsburgh let one get away last week, honestly, especially their defense having 3 turnovers, and almost a 4th on the goal line when the game was on the line. That punch out, they get the ball there, game sealed. I think the Steelers keep on rolling. I think last week just a small speed bump, and they'll get it done here against Las Vegas.
Yeah, Raiders too banged up. Give me the Steelers as well to have a bit of a bounce back game in this one. Let's go to Lions at Cowboys. Let's see here. I should have mentioned that the Steelers are currently 3-point favorites in Vegas. So the Lions are favored by 3.5 in this one. Ben, what do you got?
Parker, I'm going to apologize in advance, man. And, I'm willing to pick the Cowboys. I picked them last week for no reason over the Steelers. But this week, I don't see it. I've got the Lions here 38-17. The Lions can run the football and throw the football. The Cowboys can't stop the run. The Cowboys can't run the football. Dak Prescott's going to throw for a lot of yardage in this game against that Lions secondary that still doesn't have it together. But, man, I just like the Lions here by a lot, even in Dallas, which I think they haven't won a game in Dallas this year, right? If I'm remembering that correctly. But Lions by a lot here. Lions
Parker.
off a bye week as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, yep. Ben, you are correct. Cowboys are 0-2 at home and 3-0 away. I can't steal Austin's thing. It worked for me last week, but I can't steal Austin's thing. I'm going to take Dallas at home against Detroit. I'm just going to hope that Dallas has the ball last and can kind of make something happen. I think that this is one of those games that it could come down to that. I hope Dallas ends up with the ball with 2 minutes left. And if we lose because Dak can't get it done, then that is what it is. But I do think the Cowboys could put themselves in that position.
Yeah, seeing, we were talking about this right before the show, but seeing the way the Steelers, and you mentioned it, Parker, just couldn't take advantage of some of those opportunities, that the Lions are an infinitely better offense than the Steelers, just more versatile, can do different things, execute better, and they're getting better week after week. They're getting closer and closer to the team that we expected to come out roaring in week 1 for no pun intended. But give me the Lions in this one. Take advantage of the Cowboys defense, which is still banged up. Let's go to our last afternoon game. The Falcons are at the Panthers. The Falcons are favored by 6 points. Ben, what do you got here?
Falcons by a lot. Panthers suck. I mean, Andy Dalton may keep them in this game for a while, but the Falcons look like they're figuring it all out like a lot of us thought they would. So give me the Falcons here. Don't be surprised, though. These 2 NFC South matchups here, that is the division of inconsistency. Don't be surprised. And I didn't have the guts to pick an upset in either game because the Buccaneers and Falcons shouldn't lose. But don't be surprised if one of these games is close and there's not an upset, because we just see it every week with this NFC South.
Parker, what are you doing?
All right. Yeah, Falcons by quite a bit. I think the Falcons are a much better football team they're getting credit for, especially after last week against Tampa Bay. I believe it should be a win against Kansas City earlier in the season. And I think we look at this team completely different if that game goes the other way. So I'm taking the Falcons by a lot. They're not even on the same. I mean, the Panthers aren't on the same level. It's floor 1 to floor 99. I mean, these guys are so far apart. So I'm going to take Atlanta.
Yeah, give me the Falcons as well. The Panthers defense, even if you think their offense is doing something, and it certainly is since going to Andy Dalton, this defense is just not going to keep up. And the Falcons have played pretty solid defenses, other than maybe where the Eagles were at week 2, but they played solid defenses all year long. They're going to play one of the worst defenses in the entire league, and I don't think the Panthers are going to be able to keep up. So give me the Falcons as well. Sunday Night Football, Bengals at Giants. Currently, the Bengals are 3.5-point favorites. Ben, what do you got here?
This one's better than it looks at first glance. You look at the records, you're like, oh, I just want to throw up. But I mean, you look at it, bad records, fun game, I think. Brian Dable is coaching his butt off, man. I mean, he is just pulling out all the stops. And in spite of the Malik Neighbors injury, the Giants haven't been so beat up injury wise that they can't compete. So Brian Dable's still got a lot of cards. He can kind of play and pull and mix and match. I like the Giants to hang around in this game, but give me the Bengals to win in what's a funner game than it would look like at first blush.
Parker?
I agree with Ben. This is actually going to be a fun game, but I will say this preseason, whose idea was this to make this a primetime game? You look at all the matchups this week, there's like 6 division matchups. There's some really good ones. And it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to take Joe Burrow against Daniel Jones and what we thought was a terrible New York Giants football team. So I am going to take the Bengals to win this one. I think it will be a fun game to watch. I think Daniel Jones and Brian Dable will, cook something up for next week. They have Devin Singletary coming back, I believe, in the backfield. And Tracy had a good game last week too. So I think if they could run the ball and control the ball and keep the ball mainly, I think they could put up a decent fight.
All right. I'm doing it. I've got a hipster pick for everybody this week, and I'm going with the Giants in this one. I know there's no Kayvon Thibodeau. He's going on IR. But I watched Burrow's 11 sacks from that he's taken this season. It's mostly pressure off the edge, but when he gets the pressure off the edge and steps up, he's stepping into defensive tackle sacks. And Dexter Lawrence is the best pass rushing defensive tackle, nose tackle, whatever you want to call him, in the league. Their blitz pickup is also really poor, especially up the middle. And the Giants blitz like crazy. The Bengals have faced the 8th fewest blitz rate, or 8th fewest blitzes, I guess, in the league so far this season. And that makes sense. You don't want to blitz Joe Burrow too much. He'll pick you apart. But again, their blitz pickup is bad. And the Giants blitz at the 9th highest rate in the NFL right now. For the Bengals, last week they played the Ravens, who are still the 7th worst pass defense by EPA per play, but the Giants are right in the middle. So I think this Giants team is frisky, is a little bit 2 years ago, 2022, right, where they were just kind of about average everywhere. Like Ben said, because they're actually healthy, like they were 2 years ago, and they weren't last season. So give me the Giants in this one. I think Dexter Lawrence is going to eat up the middle. And I still think Brian Burns and the rest of the guys blitzing are going to be able to get to the Bengals. And I won't do all the stats now, but over on my podcast this week, Simon and Friends podcast, Peyton and I went into a lot of stats about why this Giants offense and Daniel Jones are actually playing pretty well this season. So give me the Giants with the upset on Sunday Night Football. Now let's go to Monday night. Bills at Jets. This one's tough. The Bills are favored by 2, and this is coming off of the Robert Saleh firing. This is coming off of the Josh Allen dramatics from last week, and the Bills are certainly banged up. But Ben, what are you going to do here?
This one by far was the toughest one for me. I almost picked it as the funnest game of the week, but the Packers Cardinals is just too fun. There's so many storylines here. You already mentioned that you got the new coach coming, or the interim coach taking over. You've got the whole Hackett play calling thing. You've got the Jets offense struggling, the Bills struggling across the board the past 2 weeks. I'm not too big on important games early in the season, but this has the feel of an important game here early in the season for these two teams in this division. If the Bills were to go in here and win, that could really set the tone for the rest of the season, and it might even start to send the Jets crashing down a little bit farther than they already kind of are. Jets really need this. I'm going to pick the Jets here with the interim coach thing going on. Jets to win, but boy, this is a tight one. Boy, this is tight.
Parker?
I'm taking Buffalo. I think last week's mishaps, I don't even think Josh Allen thought he was on Earth. He might have been on a whole other planet the last 3 plays of the game. So I think without all that going on, they just run the football a couple times, they win a game against a good Houston Texans football team. So I'm going to take the Bills here, and the Jets. It's going to be really hard to lose your head coach and come out and beat a Buffalo Bills team. Josh Allen specifically.
Yeah, I can't quit this Bills team. I know I know everything's pointing badly in their direction. I mean, listen, James Cook has been limited all week with a toe injury. He's questionable, as well as wide receiver Khalil Shakir. He has been limited all week with his ankle injury that he missed last week's game with. Ed Oliver is out with a hamstring injury. Teron Johnson is also questionable with a forearm. But they've been dealing with injuries on defense and surviving this year. But the offense is what's making me a little bit nervous. I want to say Jets because there is always that head coach just got fired bump week one or the first week after. But the issue is the players didn't dislike Robert Saleh from at least from our point of view. Maybe there's stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about, but he kept this defense going all this time. I'm a little worried about what their interim coach situation is going to be. I'm a little worried about how that's going to go with calling the defense and all that stuff, pushing the right buttons, doing that all in 1 week against Josh Allen on Monday Night Football. I don't really love it. So go ahead and give me the Bills in this one as well. All right. So those are our picks. We'll see how we fare coming into next week. Now let's get into our bets. Let's see. Ben is currently, third with 61.64 goats worth. Parker is 75.39. He's in first place, and I'm in last place at 56.13. We had a terrible week last week. We had 1 out of 8 bets hit, and it was mine, and it was Derrick Henry, 80 rushing yards, which didn't hit until overtime on a 40-yard run, which I begged for in Slack right before it happened. And I got no money for it. It was minus 135. It was a moral victory, if anything. So hopefully we all fare a little bit better this week. Go ahead, Ben, and give us your first bet.
I was very tempted to go negative here with both the rookie quarterbacks coming in this week and pick, interception a bet here. I decided, you know what? I'm going to go positive here. And I'm positive Spencer Rattler is going to be running for his life in this game, okay? You mentioned it, Simon. Patrick's coming back and he's banged up, but they're without Ruiz, they're without McCoy up the middle. And we've already seen this Saints offensive line struggle the past 2 or 3 weeks without those guys in the middle. Lots of pressure coming up the front. That's with Derek Carr sitting back there at quarterback. So I've got Spencer Rattler rushing yards at plus 25, over 25 rushing yards that he'll get, I think, because he can scramble, and I can get plus 295 for that. So as they say in the parlance, I like the juice there. And I'll put 5 goats worth on it.
It's a fun one. That's fun. He will easily run for over 25 yards. Will they all be forward is the question.
Will they be positive?
Parker, what's your first bet?
Alrighty. So the first bet, I'm going to my Dallas Cowboys game. And I'm going to take each team to score 1 rushing touchdown and 1 passing touchdown on both sides of the ball. It's at plus 145. I'm going to put $10 on it to make 24.50. 10 goats worth. I'm sorry, not bucks.
Let's get the currency right, man.
Yeah,
different economic system
we need the right livestock going in here. Austin's sheet won't work with the wrong livestock going in. All right, that's a fun one. I like it. High offense. That's what we want to see. I'm going to get a couple of favorites, money lines to create some plus odds for myself. I'm going to take the Texans and Bucks money line parlayed together for plus 114. And I'm going to put 10 goats worth on that one. So I just, the Bucks can't lose to Ben's boy, Spencer Rattler, and the Texans can't lose to Drake May. I didn't even realize I did this. I went on the opposite end of Ben. I'm betting.
Yeah.
And listen, we'll get to Ben's pick in a minute, but both these things can happen and they still lose those games. So we'll see. Maybe everybody will eat this week. Ben, what's your next bet?
So, I'm not even sure this is going to happen, but I like rooting for this. Drake May passing yards. In the little glimpse we saw of him 3 weeks ago, he wasn't shy about throwing the football. And other than the Patriots coaching staff telling him to take it easy in this game, I don't think he's going to be shy about throwing it here. He was never shy about throwing it in North Carolina. He was always very happy to throw. So I've got him at over 200 passing yards on the day. I can get him at plus 265 there. I'll put 5 goats worth on it. And it's just something to root for here. Drake May in his first appearance. Again, I'm very worried about points here for the Patriots. I'm worried about him collecting some sacks, throwing a pick, but I think he's got a chance to at least move the football to some degree on yardage.
I know it's a rookie quarterback and everything, but the Texans have given up 200 passing yards in every game this season.
Wow.
I think those are really good. You don't see that plus of odds when it's something like that. Usually when you see plus 265, it like has not happened this year. So that's a really fun one. I really like that one. Parker, what do you got next?
I do think wide receivers are taken into effect in that conversation. But anyways, nothing against Drake May. I hope he does very well. Courteous to you, Ben, for taking that bet. All right, this is my crazy parlay of the week. This is a 5-legger.
Yes.
Here we go. I've moved the line in one of the games. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I've moved it to -6.5. I think they're going to win by a touchdown against Spencer Rattler. I think they'll do some damage there. I have one underdog on this bet as well, though. I have the Arizona Cardinals beating the Green Bay Packers. I have some faith. And then I have Pittsburgh against the Raiders. I have the Falcons against the Carolina Panthers. And I have oh crap. Sorry, guys. I have it pulled
You're
up
good.
on my phone.
We'll get over it.
One more. Oh, I have the Texans in New England just to win. So there's my 5-legger. It's plus 2,063. So I have 5 goats on it to make 108 goats.
Oh man, that's so good.
Anything from the guys? Nothing? All right, cool.
No,
fit.
no, it's great, man. I'm expecting it, and I know, man.
I'm sure- I'm sure
last
it's gonna
week the
work out.
Seahawks just let me down. I mean, last week I was so close.
so close.
I was so close.
Well,
It
look,
sucks.
I bet on the Seahawks to win, not bet, but I picked the Seahawks to win the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They didn't do it.
So
Insert Mikal
yeah.
Bridges meme here. My last pick, I'm going back to that Bucks Saints game. And I've got Vita Vea. I love these sack ones that we get. Vita Vea plus over a quarter of a sack is plus 140. I'm putting 10 on that. He has a sack in each of the last 2 games. And we talked about already the interior of that offensive line is decimated. I did go back and watch Carr's 5 sacks from this season, and you know it's a little bit of everything for him. But the pressure up the middle is certainly going to be there, and whether it's somebody beating Penning off the edge and Rattler steps up into it, or Vita Vea just blows up everybody and gets back there himself, I think Vita Vea gets Spencer Rattler on the ground in this one. That's plus 140. All right, that's it. Those are our picks. Those are our bets. That's Game of the Week. This has been the Box Score Network NFL preview show for Week 6. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, like the video as well. We would love to hear your picks, any bets that you like, so comment on the video too. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at BScore Network and Instagram at Box Score Network for more content and more fun things. So we will talk to you guys next week. Have a good one. Enjoy the games.